Welcome to class. I'm Christine Pence, your instructor. I've been teaching at Northampton Community College for 19 years. I enjoy teaching a lot, and I really like teaching online. I also like traveling with my students. I like my cats. I like reading, exercising, coffee, music, being part of a church, and taking pictures. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the syllabus and the course generally. I leave it to you to read the syllabus and absorb the details, but these are the highlights that this lecture covers. 1. Get the book and Padlet. 2. The goals of the course. 3. The major assignments that make up the grade. And 4. Asking for help. So first, get the book. You can get the book online by going to the NCC online bookstore. I've included a link here, and there's also a link that you can get to in the class Blackboard. When you get the book, choose Northampton Community College Main Campus Fall 2023, and on the left-hand side you have to put in HIST History to get the choice for 210 in the middle, and then section 01 will pop up automatically. So choose History, then 210, then 01 will show up automatically. And then here's the book. The book's not very expensive. I recommend that you buy it in paperback, but I myself have bought it on Amazon as a Kindle version, and I have played it with my iPad's player. So I found having an audio copy of the book pretty helpful. You may too, I don't know, but I do recommend getting the paperback. It's pretty cheap, and then also getting an audiobook if you need to listen to it at some point during the semester. The other thing you need to do is sign up for Padlet. That's relatively easy to do, and it is free. I will give you some instructions more specifically in the Blackboard, but when you do, I'm going to ask you to post on the timeline as a first activity so that I can see you're in the class. And if you have any trouble with getting into Padlet, please send me an email. I'm happy to help you. All right, now we're set up with the book and Padlet. Let's talk about what this course is actually about. It's a history course, so when you engage with history, whether you watch a video or you read a book, you really want to know whether or not what you're reading is true. We're interested in the truth. And I would also say that people watch or try to absorb history because they're thinking about what's right and wrong, what they might do in a similar situation. They're also thinking about what got us here. How do we get in the situation we're in? So every history course kind of necessarily asks really, how does knowing our past help us? Why do we even want to tell ourselves about the past? And what creates the condition for change in society? That's something that every history course talks about. Well, for us, we're going to situate those questions in the history of science. And within the span of the whole universe, we're going to look at events and trends, trying to answer not only what happened, but also why those events are significant to us, how they shape our world now. So the next thing to think about is, what is a historian's mindset? There are really three things that historians think about. First of all, how do we know what really happened? How can we prove that what we think happened really did happen? And we're going to inquire skeptically and rigorously when we claim something happened. Then the next thing we want to know is, did it matter? Who cares that something happened? How do we know that the things that we're retelling, recounting, explaining, how do we know that they really matter? Who do they matter to? And then the last question, really, that historians think about is, could what happened have happened any other way? Was it inevitable? Was there any way of changing the course of history? That's something people are pretty interested in because they're interested in seeing what's going to happen in the future. So those are three questions that we're going to keep crossing and recrossing. How do we know what happened? How do we know it matters? And could it have happened any other way? Well, on a personal level, I just hope this course will do you some good. I hope that you will think about these habits of mind and you'll apply them to your future life. I want you to make good judgments about your own actions and think about the implications of your actions. I want you to decide what's true, what's good, and what can be changed. And I want you to gain optimism from knowing that very little is actually inevitable. And I want you to take courage from the thought that enormous good has been accomplished by the weak as well as the mighty. When we talk about the history of science, though, I also want you to reflect soberly on the unintended and unanticipated consequences of many scientific developments. So, as I've taught this course, I've tried to develop a definition of science that can be used in every culture and every time, that incorporates the scientific method and that allows us to make useful analysis of what people are actually doing. So as we go through history, we kind of need to say, where and when was science actually happening? And so this definition, which we'll come back to, I want to give to you now so that you can think about it as we get going. In order to improve our lives and satisfy our curiosity, we develop and use specialized instruments to make observations so that we can explain the hidden causes of the natural world and predict future events. That's what I think science is, and that's the definition we're going to road test throughout this course. Another way to say this is that over time we change and our ideas change. And this little chart is a kind of a model, a way of describing the context of scientific change over time. It's not all just one unbroken string of successes. As you see, we have observers who can be anyone who's looking at a problem, something that they need to solve, like famine or shelter, or the power to do work, or trying to understand where we come from and where we're going. We have these observers who deal with these problems, and they develop instruments to help think through how to solve those problems. And often the instruments give us new information or new data that change the big organizing ideas that we have. And I've got kind of a hodgepodge of organizing ideas on that right-hand side. They're not all maybe of equal weight, but each time we have an observer who tackles a problem and uses a new instrument, we typically have a new set of organizing ideas. And we'll look at this, as I said, again in the course. All right, this is the formal definition of what the course is about. This is what you would find on the course outline if you went to the registrar of NCC. And I'm going to read them to you. By the end of this course, if you make a diligent effort, you will be able to place scientific discoveries and the people who made them in historical context. You will be able to explain the scientific method and the role of imagination in the scientific method. You will understand and explain how scientific learning and knowledge acquisition necessarily cross the boundaries of knowledge and disciplines. You will understand and describe the relationship between science, technology, and the liberal arts. Last, you will show how historical understandings of culture and gender are framed within and framed by science. All right, we've talked about the big ideas of the course. Now let's talk about getting the grade. There are 5 types of assignments. First, there's discussion board posts. Then there's a summary of the reading, the book. Then there's a Padlet timeline post. There's an interview with the scientist. And there are 3 journals of learning, curiosity, and reflection. There's a fair bit of writing in this class, but the points are balanced out so that one thing shouldn't make or mar you too much. You should be able to keep your balance as you go through the course. If you have difficulties or problems, you should talk to me about them. But as you look at this, you should see that things are generally worth about the same, so that one thing or another thing isn't going to really take you down. What you should notice, though, is the Journal of Learning, Curiosity, and Reflection is a little bit heavier weight and is going to take a little bit more work. So, how did the assignment fit the course goals? Well, first, the discussion board posts about the video lectures will help you to place scientific discoveries and the people who made them in historical context. They will also help you to explain the scientific method and the role of the imagination in the scientific method, and they will help you to understand and explain how scientific learning and knowledge acquisition necessarily crosses the boundaries of knowledge and disciplines. Then the Padlet timeline will reinforce your ability to put scientific discoveries and the people who made them in historical context. The scientist interview is really to help you to understand how a person who gets into science thinks about becoming a scientist and what's the relationship between science, tech, and the liberal arts. And it will also help you think about how a scientist views his or her work. then the Journal of Learning and Curiosity and Reflection will typically focus again on that relationship between science, technology, and the liberal arts, and it will also let you explore a little bit about culture and gender in science. And last but not least, the summary of the reading will really capture all of the things that the course is about, because the book is about all of the things that the course is about. So another thing I've been thinking a lot about is how do you make an online class more of a community? And when I was thinking about the way assignments work, sometimes you are consolidating your knowledge by yourself, and sometimes you're exploring your curiosity by yourself. You just go out and figure out what's going on in the world because you just want to know a little bit more. And this is a great age to be curious in because so much information is available to you. But also in a class, the point of a class is being with other people. And so how do we use an online class to consolidate your new knowledge? And how do you explore your curiosity with other people? So I've tried to put the assignments in that set of thoughts. So I would say that the discussion board posts about the video lectures are you consolidating your knowledge by yourself, but you're also working with other people to consolidate your knowledge. That's why you're responding to those posts. I would say that the summary of the reading is you pretty much working on your own, trying to learn something new. And the Padlet timeline is definitely you working with other people, trying to consolidate your knowledge of the history of science. Then the scientist interview, you'll be voting on questions that you want to ask, and that will really be following your curiosity with others. And last but not least, the Journal of Learning, Curiosity, and Reflection will involve some discussion with other people as well as figuring out what you know and what you're more interested in. So that's how I think the assignments line up in terms of what does it mean to have a class. Okay, 2 more points. Well, really 1 more point, which is I really like students and I love teaching. I'm glad to be your instructor. I assume in advance that you'll do well and that you'll enjoy the process of learning. What happens if you have some difficulties? Well, you didn't sign up for this class in order to replicate the awfulness of the real world. You signed up to be better prepared to improve the world you live in. So if you have trouble, get in touch with me, because the rules I establish will be to serve this class, to serve our learning community, to serve you, and to support your learning. Our approach is going to be fair and flexible. It's going to be suited to our tasks of being together and learning. I estimate that the reading, posts, videos, and what you'll do for class will take you 3 to 5 hours each week. There are a couple of weeks it will take you more than that. Look at the syllabus where I've estimated the time and set aside the time necessary to do well in this course. Plan to talk to me about how you're doing. As you study, take the subject seriously, focus on learning the material, love what you learn, think about how it applies to your life, and enjoy the company of others who are with you. Don't worry needlessly or be unnecessarily stressed. Steady persistence is key. Work hard, keep trying, and stay in communication with me.